Okay, so now basically, like if you when you come here in data import or export, so here we can see file type. So here we have the multiple file type. Even if you're aware how to perform data import and export, so since we already discussed about data import and export, it's very easy for you to understand this. So you know, like performing the data import export option, like we have to follow same process. So we can see we have different file type here. Like we have the supplier, supplier from sourcing, supplier contact from sourcing, qualification data, preferred supplier, purchasing org. Like that, we have the many more here. So if you see, we have the many more here. But relevant to us, generally we have to use these two files. One file basically is the supplier, and second is the supplier contact. These two files we have to use like whenever we have to import our backend SAP system supplier to the SAP Ariba. So what basically we have to do whenever we have to perform this data import or we have to import list of supplier in the SAP Ariba. So we have to come here and select this file type as a supplier. So once we select this file type supplier, so here downside we can see we have the two options. One is download a sample file to see its format. This is something you can just download this template. You can click on the sample file and system will download one template to you. That is supplier CSV file. Even though it name showing supplier sample.csv, but this is called as a supplier CSV file. And when you open this particular CSV file, you can see you will have the particular like blank template here, and we have to prepare like this. Okay, but what I will do, so in our case, sorry, apart from this, if you want to export your currently available data, so if some of the supplier you have created either manually or like with the help of mass data upload, does not matter. So if you want to export your currently available data, you can click on the export. Once you click on the export, then here system will export this available data. And now if you open this file, so this will have your existing information. So if you see, these are basically your template, like ERP vendor ID, SM vendor ID, master vendor like ID. This is something blank. Source system, name 1, name 2, name 3, name 4, phone, fax, line 2, line 3, postal code, state, country code, and active as per org system ID. And here you can see this is your ACM ID. Right. So when your supplier information is getting created in the SAP Ariba, system is automatically generating this ACM ID, that is in short called as the Ariba Contract Management ID. Right. So like this, like your file will be there. So whenever we have to prepare our file, like in this blank template, so we have to specify the particular information in our file. So if you see this blank template, we have to give all the information. We have to use ERP vendor ID. So whatever we have, that information we can capture from our backend SAP system. So we have to go in the LFA1 table and we have to capture that vendor ID. Those vendor ID we have to specify in the column A. Column B, as you know, this is something not like it will be blank. As you know, system will generate automatically. Nothing we have to do. This is something column C, no use. Column D, we have to specify our source system. It could be your ECC or like basically we'll have the only two options, SAP or Ariba. So we have to give the SAP here since we are extracting from the backend SAP system. We have to give the source system as that like SAP, and these are basically very common information like name 1, name 2, postal code you can enter here. Apart from this, if you come to right hand side, we have some other information as well. So again, this information basically is optional, but if you want to enter, you can enter. And in the last, we have to only give this column X value. So column X value basically means it is the active. Active means deleted or undeleted. So sometimes, again, this is our job. So whenever the customer will tell you, so customer will tell you, please migrate, or might be during the implementation when you will move to the realize phase. So you will check with customer, or before that, whenever you want to check with customer, you can check like whatever the cutover strategy. So cutover strategy means like you would like to understand from the customer side. So would they like to see or would they like to migrate their legacy information to Ariba or not? If they will say yes, then yes, we have to perform the cutover for that particular migration. So let's say customer has told you like they please migrate like list of backend SAP system supplier to the SAP Ariba as well. Now, if you see in the backend SAP system, so might be you may have 1,000 of the vendor or 10,000 of the vendor, depends on your org structure, right? but some of the vendor will be deleted, some of the vendor like basically will be active. So whatever vendor that you want to migrate, that again we have to check with customer. So some customer will say please migrate only active vendor, some customer will say no, please migrate all the vendor, later point of time we can activate as well, even though those are deactivate now, but we can activate it here. Right. So that is why we have to specify this active column information as well. So if you mention here in the active as true, true means system will understand that is that vendor is not deleted, that is active. And if you mention here as a false, then system will understand those are not active. So like this information we have to specify in this file. And the same way if you come here in this our like this export, we can see like this information will be available here, right? So we can see in somewhere you can see in source system we have the SAP, and somewhere we can see we have this like SM as well. SM basically means Ariba, right? So once you prepare this file, then what we have to do, we have to go in the SAP Ariba, and we have to basically click on this, we have to like import it. So to import the file, we have to click on the choose file. I'm not going to like that import any new template here because we have some validation as well, but just I'm trying to show you it's very simple. So we have to click on the choose file. Once you click on the choose file, system will ask you which file you want to import. You have to choose your file and click on this open. So once you click on this open, click on the upload. That's it. So based on that, system will start uploading activity, and if that will be completed, it will give this information as success. If due to some reason system is unable to do, it will give you the error information, and even you will have this error information like why exactly the system has not created supplier, what was the issue. So you can find out based on this one, and accordingly we can rectify our file, and again we have to re-import our file in the system. So this is a process to like that import the list of vendor in the SAP Ariba. But one question here, if you see this file, so what do you think? If you specify the enter this file, so system will create supply record in the Ariba or not? Let me again navigate to the column by column. ERP vendor ID, SM vendor, source system, name 1, name 2, name 3, name 4, fax, line 2, line 3, postal code, city, state name, DNS ID, active, as per org system ID, that is your ACM ID. So what do you think? Once you import this file, system will create supply record in the Ariba? No, it will not create. Right? Why it will not create? Because we are missing some of the information. So what information we are missing? We are missing the email address. As you know, email address is a mandatory field in the supply request. This is nothing, just your supply request itself, right? So if you, so we have to verify our, we have to go in the supply request form. We have to see whatever fields are mandatory and whatever fields are optional. So basically, in all the cases, your email address field will be mandatory, and we can see this email address field is not available here. So that means when you will import this file in the system, then still system will not create any supply record. It will hold the information on the fly. That means even it will not update in database as well. It will hold in somewhere like just it will park this information like in the system itself, but it will not create the supply record. So how system, when system will create the supply record? So for that, what we have to do, we have to work with another file, that is the supplier contact. So if you come here in the supplier contact, so same way here we have to perform the same activity. So in this case, if you come here, so if you click on the sample file, we can get this template. Now let me open this template. So this is your supplier contact file. Now in this case, if you see, so most of the field information will be remain same, like ERP vendor ID, supplier name, source system, first name, middle name, last name, country code, telephone, mobile country, email, and like active, department is primary. So these are the basically template. So here, like you can see column K basically is a mandatory. So in this file, we have to specify the email address here. right? So let me show you. Let me just extract the available data. It will give you the better, that information. Now let me open. Now we can see this is the supplier contact file. So here as well we can see we have the same information like ERP vendor ID, supplier name, source system, first name, last name, and most important is your email. So whatever email basically that you have used, those email information we have to maintain. And apart from this, one more column is important, that is basically column Q and column S. Column Q is basically same way as active, like true or false, that means deleted or undeleted, but is primary. So is primary means like in certain cases, if like your vendor have the multiple email address, it might possible. Even if you see in the backend SAP system, might be in MDG as well. If you want to maintain the multiple email address for a single supplier, we can maintain. Right. So same way in the SAP Ariba as well, we can maintain. This activity we cannot do like in front-end system. That means while getting supply request, but here you can do. So in certain cases, if for some supplier, if you have like multiple email address, so in that case, like that we have to specify both the email address here. So both the column and row entry will be same, but you will have the different email address. But whatever email address is the primary, there we have to maintain as a true. So wherever you will maintain as a true, so that email address system will understand that is a primary, and wherever you will maintain as the false, that email address system will understand that is the secondary. That means priority, right? So when you upload this file, so uploading this file as well, we have to follow same process. Go to system, click on this choose file, same way supplier contract, and now click on the upload, and same way it will come to like summary here, and accordingly it will like create supplier. So once these two file will upload these two file like suppliers and supplier contact CSV file, and when we upload these two files successfully, then only your supplier record will be created in the SAP Ariba. Okay, so this process basically we are following as a manual approach whenever we have to do the migration activity to migrate our legacy system contract, sorry, legacy system supplier to SAP Ariba. So then only we are following this activity. Am I clear? Or any question here?
Yeah, it's clear. Just one quick question. In the previous file, Rohit, at SM vendor ID, will it be getting automatically created once the file is uploaded, or we need to enter it manually?
No, it will be blank. Nothing we have to enter here because system will generate automatically. We have to only specify ERP vendor ID. That's it.
Okay, okay.
Okay. But now one question here. As you know, what is the process of this SLP? So SLP process flow is supply request, right? And approval something, let's skip the approval. So supply request, supply registration. These two are the mandatory process of the the like SLP process. After that, if you want to do supplier qualification, preferred supplier, that you can do. But generally, this is something happening like after the sourcing activity or when we start the business activity with the supplier, then only we'll come to know like a supplier is going to qualify the requirement or not, or this supplier could be the preferred supplier or not. That's something is a different thing. So now let's assume you have imported the 1000 of the supplier. Now that means with the help of this file, what we did, we have created the 1000 of the supplier in the SAP Ariba, right? So as you know, supplier registration process is a mandatory for this like that supplier, not for the supplier, for the SAP solution. So that how we can send this registration invitation to the supplier? How we can send, right? So for that, if you want to go one by one, so if you open the supplier profile manually and you manually click on the invite supplier, definitely it will take very long time because there are 1000 supplier. 1000 supplier, I just give you some example. Might be if you implement this SLP to the big organization, you may have 1 million of the supplier as well. Like for example, Coca-Cola, Honda, these are the very big organization. There you may see the process will be the complex. They will have n number a huge list of the supplier itself. So in that case, how to do this? So and in that case, we will not be able to go with the manual approach because we have this specific timeline as well. Right. So for that, SAP Ariba has given this option as the mass invite. So you can see here as the mass invite option. Right. So mass invite means basically we have the flexibility. We can send the like registration invitation in the mass. So generally, when we are creating the supply record in the SAP Ariba, so after that we have to perform this mass invite. But mass invite basically this activity we are not doing like in a single shot. Why? Because this supplier registration activity is not in our control. We can only control, we can give some deadline to supplier, like you have to complete by next week, by this this date you have to complete the registration activity. That option we can give, right? But basically, as you know, this is something time consuming process. So sometimes if we are sending any questionnaire, then basically that supplier has to submit the responses toward the questionnaire, right? So even it is not only supplier will perform the create their account, or supplier will complete the registration activity. That is not the only end of the process. When they will complete the registration process, then again we have to review this supplier information, and based on that we have to confirm okay, now the supplier is good and we can go ahead with the supplier, right? So that means we have the review process as well. So overall, like in long and short, if you say, so supplier registration process is not a very quick thing. It's a time consuming process, right? So generally what we are doing for that, Ariba is also recommending we have to create the different webs basically. In general we can say priorities. We have to prioritize our supplier. So for example, if you have the 1000 of the supplier, so definitely all the 1000 of the supplier will not be that all supplier will not be the that high on higher priority. So definitely you will have some list of supplier which are very important for your business process. Some supplier some supplier will be the optional. So for that, what we have to do, we have to sit with customer, and we have to ask them to customer, please provide me that the different web, or how you want to define the web. So might be, so customer will tell you based on the purchase order value. So you can check for which supplier we have created more purchase order. So those suppliers are that high priority supplier. Or you can check the price of this total invoice amount, like in last year, this year, how to which supplier we paid more invoice. Those are the high priority supplier. So every customer, they will have the different criteria. Based on the criteria, we have to check the list of supplier in the backend SAP system side, and we have to the prepare this basically the different way. Okay, or we can say different sort itself, like web 1, web 2, web 3. It's again depends on your that number of supplier. So we have to basically initiate the supplier registration or mass invitation on the web basis. So for 1 week we'll go to some pilot supplier. In second week we'll go to some portal supplier. In third week we'll go to some B2B supplier. Like that we have to form in the real time. Okay, so whatever the list of supplier that basically you have in this list, those supplier basically we have to extend, and we have to find out which are the higher priority supplier. That means which supplier are the wave 1 supplier, right? So once you will have this information as a prerequisite, then only you have to go here in the mass invitation process. So then when you come to the mass invitation process, here we have to choose a web basically. So web name we have to give. As of now, we have not given any web name. So we have to only, nothing we have to do in the choose a web. Here we have to give that web. So whatever web name you want to give, you can give here. Like let's say I'm giving it as a pilot supplier, for example, right? And now we have to specify the web indent. Web indent means registration indent. So whatever indent you want to give here, there's something we can give, like up to this date, this time supplier has to complete the registration activity. This is the deadline period. So this information we have to specify here. And now whatever the file that you prepared, so those file basically we have to come here and we have to select. But in this case, we can see we also have the option here, the template as well. So in this case, what basically we have to do, So we have to keep our file in the sequential manner so that we will not have any confusion, and whatever file you want to choose, you can choose. So let me first show you this template, because in this case we have some different template itself, I think. Now this is a must invite sample here, and if you click on this open, this is your must invite template. So in this case, what we have to do basically, we have to specify only ERP vendor ID. We do not have to give any, like, that vendor ID, like SM vendor ID, or whatever ERP vendor ID that basically we have given, basically, like, that in our previous sheet. Like if you see the supplier export, so these are our ERP vendor ID. If you see actually, because in this case we have our system is a source system. Sorry, our source system is a SAP. So this ERP vendor ID basically we have to specify in the template of the mass invite. So we have to basically give the ERP vendor ID, and in the column B, as we can see, we have the option set transaction relationship. That means, do you want to perform this transaction activity with the supplier? We have to basically maintain true here. So like here we have to give this value like 1 2 3 4 5 supplier, and we have to give the value as a 2, like this. So only this information we have to maintain in this particular template. So based on this ERP vendor ID only, the system will find out all the information, like what is the email address of the supplier. So if you see the other file, supplier contact file, right? So here as well, this is a supplier contact file. Here we can see in the column K we have the email address, and here we can see in the column A we have the only ERP vendor ID. So here as well we cannot see any SM vendor ID here, right? So based on this ERP vendor ID, system will automatically capture that the email address of the vendor, and it will send the notification. So like this, we have to prepare this mass in, like, invitation template, and once it will be ready, then we have to go same way in the Ariba, and now we have to start the uploading. So whatever the web first file is there, click on the choose file, and we have to basically select the particular file here. Now click on the open. Let me show you something different here. I will select, like, supplier contact file, just to show you one thing, and now click on this open. So once you click on this open here, then system will give the option to upload the spreadsheet. That means whatever file we assigned here, that's something we want to upload here. Now click on this upload spreadsheet. So when you click on the upload spreadsheet, so same way, okay, nothing, no information is available here. Okay, so basically then, like, system will give you this option, choose the questionnaire to send. So this questionnaire basically we have to configure whatever questionnaire. Okay, in that case we have this questionnaire. So this questionnaire will be available here, and like same way, if you remember in the SLP process, like there also we have the same option. So we have to basically select the questionnaire. In case you have the multiple questionnaire, in that case we have to come here and change the questionnaire. Otherwise for one it will come by default. And in the last, system will give the information. So based on that, like, the supply information, whatever you like a file you added. So in certain cases, if system will find out any error, so might be, for example, whatever the ERP vendor ID that you added. So let's assume for some ERP vendor ID that we already have this Ariba network ID. That means that supplier registration is already completed. I'm just giving an example. So in that case, what system will understand? System will understand those are already registered. So why we have to send them? It will give you the number here, like already registered supplier, like this. Same way, might be in some supplier we have some error, even though we created through mass upload, but system encountered some error and system has not created supplier successfully. But now we have not verified those information, and we are trying to import, like we are trying to perform this mass invitation process. So in this case, system will give something information here like invalid vendor ID, because those vendor are not correct. Right. So like that, you will have the different information about the error. So system will give you the proper information, like in how many vendor we have the system encountered some error, in how many vendor the email address is not maintained, in how many vendors are already registered. This information you will have, and based on that, system will give you how many vendor is ready for the invite. So based on that, like, you will understand this one. This is only for information purpose. Now, if you click on the send invite, so whatever supplier that system find out as ready for invite, system will send the notification like mass invitation to all the supplier who system identified as ready for invite. And now, as usual, like how we see that